Welcome to the Wicked Gamer and Collector. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. So in today's video we're going to do a top 10 portable system with a maximum of $25. Are you searching for a cheap solution for something on the go, or you want to give something a little present and you're searching for a very cheap solution? And in this top 10 I'm going to focus on, let's say, the cheap, super cheap version of portable systems. So stay tuned and enjoy the show. For the number 10 position I choose the Retro Max. Alright, so I really like the shape of the device itself. It's very comfortable, so also if you have big hands you can play this for a longer time period. The buttons got a very nice response and the D-pad plays very well. The screen is pretty decent, it's not big, but it got a pretty good view angle. The games itself, the list, there are a lot of good games on it, a lot of crappy games like always, but the game collection that is pretty good for what you're going to get. There is no way of adding new games, there is no way of removing them. There is an SD card in this machine, but I don't know why that is, because you cannot remove or add games. So there's a little bit of a bummer. Also the games running are very slow, and that is also something that I think it's a missed opportunity for the Retro Max. So basically they messed it up, but still it is a decent product. For the money we can't complain, and I'm giving this position to the Retro Max. So that brings us to number 9 position. The number 9 position is a BitBoy Clone. The BitBoy is a very tiny, compact, portable system. Only this one supports 8-bit games. The buttons are playing very nice, got a very nice touch for a cheap device. The screen itself is really tiny, but the view angle is pretty good and the color reflection is decent. The games, it got a small collection of games. You cannot add, you cannot remove. What you see is what you're going to get. It got some decent games and a lot of crappy games like always. The collection is not the best one, but it's a pretty cheap device. So it's funny to give it away or bring it along. It's very tiny, so it's a little bit better. So I give the number 9 position to this BitBoy Clone. That brings us to number 8, the BMP Portable system. I have never seen a weird system like this with a dual pad, and I can tell you already, they messed up the controls, because with the right D-pad you move and with left one you jump and all the other action buttons, so that's pretty unique. It's in pretty big shape and it got a lot of rounding, so holding it in your hands for a very long time is very comfortable. The games are 8-bit, same story like a lot of these 8-bit systems. You cannot delete, add new games. This one works with a weird little cartridge, and so let's say more like an unlocking mechanism. So it has a pretty decent LCD screen with a good view angle. The function of the system are, let's say, basically the same like all the other systems, only you can replace the battery with a new one, and I think that is pretty awesome. So I'm putting this weird 8-bit version on the number 8 position, just because I think it's a little bit better than the other versions, and the emulation of the games is pretty decent like a lot of these systems, but this is what you're going to get with the BMP. It's cheap, you got 8-bit games, and yeah, for the money we can't complain. And for the next position I choose the Family Pocket system. Yes people, again an 8-bit, because in this price range we find a lot of 8-bit systems. But this one, first of all, I really like the form factor of this device. It looks really cool. It's a little bit made of chemical plastic. It got shoulder buttons I have totally no use for. Alright, so when powering it on, you can see it got a very nice screen for a cheap device. I want to point out there are also versions that you can add an extra controller, so including with the TV out you can use it like an 8-bit game system. The games is a little bit weird story, because you have this cartridge at the back, and if you open up this system you can see that it has a cartridge slot. When you're putting it in, you're having a smaller collection but only homebrew crappy games. So the locking mechanism has been used with many of these 8-bit systems. But alright, the screen itself, it's pretty decent. As you can see here, it got good games, and the functions like TV out is possible with this device. The emulation of the games is not bad at all. The button got a very nice response, and it even has some good working double buttons. So this is the reason why I choose this Family Pocket on this position. So that brings us to the next version. I'm putting this handheld on this position because of the looks. I really like how it looks. It looks more like an PAL NES system. I think it's very comfortable to play for a very long time because it's very bulky. And for us, with people with big hands, I think this can be a portable system we can just play around for many hours. The downside, it's working with this weird locking mechanism, so that's a little bit of a bummer. The D-pad itself, it's a very weird shape, but I can tell you it plays very well, and the same for the buttons. The collection, this is what we're going to get with a lot of these systems. A lot of good games, a lot of crappy games. It works with a lithium battery inside, so we can recharge it and play your games. Alright, so the games itself, what I already mentioned, a lot of good games, a lot of crappy games. You cannot add new games, you cannot remove them, so what you see is what you're going to get, and you're stuck with the game list. The screen itself, it's pretty decent. It's got a good view angle. The game emulation is not bad at all. So this is what you're going to get with the NES Portable Clone system from China. I'm putting it at this position, but I think it's a funny product and it's pretty damn cheap. That brings us to the next portable system. This is the Game Boy Advance clone. So the shape is a 1-on-1 copy of the Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Advance is a very nice portable system, very comfy in the hands, and it's a 1-on-1 copy, so it feels the same. I need to point out the buttons are not the same. The buttons feel a little bit cheaper than, of course, the original Nintendo product, but this is what you're going to get with cheap devices like this. The screen, it's pretty decent. It has a removable battery, and the games are basically the same story like all the other systems. Only 8-bit games, there's no way of adding games, no way of removing the crappy games, and the emulation is pretty good for a product or a bootleg system like this. 400 games, it's a lie like always, because we have a lot of double games, a lot of crappy games. Sometimes the homebrew games can be fun. They are basic, and as you can see, the shoulder buttons are basically just turbo buttons. Very clicky, by the way, the shoulder buttons. So the screen and the games, it's all what you're going to get with a device like this. It's a little bit better than all the other versions, so that's the reason why I put it in a higher ranking in this top 10. Reset button is a very weird position, but this is what you're going to get, and the position is well deserved. Alright, so that brings us to an old friend in this top 10 position, the Retro FC 168 in 1. There are two versions, so I'm putting both of the system in this position of the top 10. If you look at the form factor, I really like it. It's more like a mini Game Boy. It's a little bit smaller, compactor. But this is what you're going to get with this version. 168 games, there is no way of swapping, no way of removing. This is what you're going to get. Both I'm guessing the similar screen, but the only difference is with the Plus Edition at the right side. This one has the option to add a controller. Pretty cool, because if you hook it up to the television, you add a controller, you have basically an 8-bit game console. Most of the games are the same, there are some changes. To be honest, the Plus Edition has less good games. But in overall, the screen is not bad at all, the game collection is decent, and the functions are a little bit better on the Plus Edition. So this is what you're going to get with the Retro FC 168. I'm putting it on a little bit higher than all the other systems because it's an overall a pretty decent product, and it plays nice, it looks nice, it's pretty compact, so if you want to put it in your backpack, it doesn't take up a lot of room, and it is not too small, so if you want to play it for a very long time, that you're going to cramp up your hands, for example. I'm going to give this position to the Wolfson 8-bit portable system 200-in-1. As you can see, this one also has the layout of the PAL system of the NES. But the reason why I put this so high in the ranking is pretty simple. I was very surprised about the quality of this product. The button response, the D-pad, it's not the D-pad a lot of people really like, but I can tell you it plays very nice. The button response, personally, it came very close to the original deal. 200 games, a lot of good games, but a lot of crappy games like always. There was no way of adding games, no way of removing games, but if you look at the screen, for example, it's got a very good screen in it for basically a very cheap device. If you look at the emulation of the games, the emulation was very good. It got a lot of great games, a lot of funny homebrew games this time, and that is something that I think that is very unique. A lot of good games and everything, and overall the system itself for the money was pretty good. And that's the reason why I'm putting it so high in this top 10 ranking. Again, yeah, I know it's an 8-bit game, but still, for the money, we're going to get a very decent product. And for the number 2, I choose this Famicom Player. Yes, again an 8-bit system, but it is not our typical 8-bit system. It's in exactly the same price range like all the other systems, but this one has the option to play original games. Yes, it got a pretty good, let's say a pretty nice LCD screen compared with all the other systems. It's pretty tiny. The button got a good response. They're not the best and not to compare it with the original Nintendo products, of course. But this is what we're going to get. It's pretty bulky and the battery is not removable, so that's a little bit weird. So that's the only option to have a rechargeable battery, and you cannot swap it out or you need to open it up. It got the same built-in games like a lot of these 8-bit systems, a lot of crack games and a lot of good games. So in overall, it's a pretty decent product, and it's a very fun product to play for a long time because it's bulky, it's big, so if you have big hands, it is very comfortable. It's not really pocket because it's bulky, but what I think is really cool that it has this option that you can play original games on the go, and that is something you don't see very often in the price range. And a lot of these, let's say, portable systems that have this option are freaking expensive. So you want to bring on your original game, multi-game cards, EverDrive, whatever, you can just use it in this little mean machine. So in my opinion, the number 2 is this Famicom Clone that can play original games. So for the number 6, I choose the X6 portable system. Yes, it's a multi-platform system, so no 8-bit games, only on this one. But the reason why I give the number 1 position, so for the money, I think this is the best thing you can buy. You can add games, you can remove games. It got a pretty huge screen, a very decent view angle. The emulation, I just want to point out, it's not perfect. It's flawed in many ways. And yes, you can play 8-bit games, 16-bit games. You can play Game Boy Advance games. You can play arcade, you can name it. You can play a lot of stuff on this thing. But again, the emulation is not perfect. It's cheap. It's within the price range what I'm making this top 10 of. And I think for the money, if you want to buy this for just having some fun on the go, or if you want to give it away like a present, I think this can be a fun product. So yeah, that concludes this list of top 10 systems for the cheap version. If you want to, let's say, give some portable system away, or you're thinking, okay, I want to have something very cheap and don't have a lot of money to spend, this can be a good option. Let me know in the comments what do you think of this list, and are the system you're thinking, okay, you needed to mention this because I have it, or you really love it. Let me know. I want to thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more awesome Wicked videos. If you like gameplay, don't forget to check out the Wicked Gaming channel. Yes, because we have a lot of videos and a lot of content over there too. And then we are going to show you some honorable mentions that were not in this list, but so enjoy, stay tuned, stay wicked, and stay positive. Yeah.